assault-type rifle, and a handgun.
He laughed. And as he's laughing, that's when he fires. And the gunshots kept going, they kept going, they kept going, they kept going. And
joining me now on the scene is Martin Savage, CNN national correspondent. Martin, this is what's coming out now. In addition to a potential investigation into his wife, who reportedly was even with him when he went and bought ammo, now everyone is saying she's cooperating. I guess she is cooperating now. But my question is, this was all linked to radical Islam, but it may be something very, very different from that, because now we're learning that this guy, Mateen, the shooter, the killer, had been to Pulse nightclub many, many times. Reports that he had tried to spark relationships with other men in the past. All of this coming out now. What do we know, Martin Savage?
We're finding out this is a much more complicated scenario than what we may have first thought. In other words, that a person who had terrorist leanings, had hate in his heart, chose a site that had a lot of people. There's a lot more to it, apparently, than that. It goes into, are there questions about his own sexuality? Or was he reaching out in the gay community as a person who is literally planning the people he wants to kill? You don't know if he is just crazy or if he's psychotic here. So this is early in the investigation.
Martin Savage, you and I have gone round and round about this on many occasions. This was too premeditated to chalk him off as crazy. He had been visiting this location. He had tried to get body armor. He had gotten the weapons. He had gotten the ammo. The works. This is so premeditated, Martin.
Correct. I'm not suggesting that he's got some sort of mental excuse. Not at all. What I'm suggesting is that he is sick in a way that most of us cannot understand, but also that there was some intelligence in his mind as to what he was doing. The planning, the plotting, the scoping out the targets. But there are other factors here, and it appears that they may bear on his personality, even his own sexuality. There is still a lot more we need to know, Nancy, if we want to fully understand whether national, international, or domestic terror.
To Ray Caputo, reporter with WDBO. Ray, what more do you know?
Well, Nancy, Martin said it best. He's a very complicated person, this guy. Now, he has been to Pulse. There are actually club-goers that have seen him, that know him, that have talked to him. One witness says he saw him there many times over the past 3 years, perhaps even 2 times a month. He said that Mateen would get really drunk and loud because he couldn't do it at home because his father wouldn't let him. But that same witness also saw the violent side of him. He said he started steering clear of Mateen after he saw him pull a knife on somebody in that club. We also know that he's met men on gay dating apps, and these men have actually seen him in person and recognized him at the club. So, like Martin said, we don't know if this is a part of his personality that's closeted, or he's that diabolical that he's been planning this out for the past 3 years. I wouldn't put it past him.
You know, Ray Caputo joining us, WDBO. I'm very interested in behavioral evidence, as you know. I'm interested in how he behaved when he was spotted at Pulse and or any other nightclub. How would he behave? Did he behave as if he were scoping it out, or did he behave as if he were there to meet somebody?
Probably the former, because we know that he was quiet. He kind of kept to himself. We do know he interacted with people, but there's a bunch of accounts of him kind of standing by himself, having a drink and watching. And what I'm assuming is he probably would have a little too many and, you know, and get drunk and have some situations like we've also heard described. But it seems to me like he was casing this place out, that he had this in the back of his mind that he was going to do this all along.
You know, it's interesting, Matt Zarrell, there are reports that he felt very open in dancing and drinking and meeting other guys at the club, and that as far back as 2006, that there are reports he was asking guys out. So, in my mind, was he there casing the place, or was he just there to have a good time? Also with me, Chloe Carmichael, Dr. Carmichael, clinical psychologist out of New York. Dr. Carmichael, explain to me, what is self-loathing?
Sure, Nancy. Self-loathing certainly comes into play here. We were asking the question earlier, is this maybe some kind of a reaction formation where because the shooter was gay himself that he chose to act out as a radical Islamic terrorist in this particular way of opening fire. So reaction formation is in psychology when you actually have a tendency towards something yourself that you take a really public posture against it. That doesn't mean that he's not also a radical Islamic terrorist, as he did pledge allegiance to ISIS.
Chloe, another issue is I understand what Ray Caputo is saying about being under Mateen's control, but not to even call 911 that night, if that's true.
Well, I agree 100%, Nancy. I mean, the idea that she would be aware that he has these weapons and planning an attack.